All right, I'm back. So she did good. She got all the words. So start off at like 5, and now it's like 30 damn words. It's a lot of words or whatever. I was just thinking like, whoa, if kids don't get a good jump start on doing them, like it's so many now where it's gonna be very hard to catch up. Like, good thing we been on it and she do them every single night, cause if not, I can see how kids get confused and they just it slow down their growth. I guess I know I didn't do that type of stuff when I was younger, so I don't even. Yeah, I guess I got slowed down a lot, and yeah, maybe that's why I still don't like to read out loud and stuff like that because like I didn't get no training. I just kind of winged it for the most part, and yeah, I don't. Yeah, I mean, obviously, school way more advanced than it was back when I was younger, so I don't know, but yeah, um, yeah. All right, good night. All right, love you. Um, so but yeah, so it's just different. It's different, man. Like I can't imagine even learning some of the stuff they learn. Like, and then obviously when you have to help them with some of the homework. I mean, even she only in kindergarten, but some of the obviously they do more advanced stuff. So she doing like first grade and stuff like that or whatever. But anyways, but some of the stuff, she and you have to look it up because you'd be like, oh, I know this, but let me just make sure to refresh her or whatever. And I remember kindergarten, it was just ABCs 1, 2, 3, and that was it. They way beyond that. Like, if that's all you know is your ABCs, then you gonna be in trouble. So obviously it's a good school, and it's crazy because they got like iPads and stuff like that. Obviously, like yesterday they didn't have school, but obviously they knew that they wasn't gonna have school the day before, or they didn't know, so they sent them home with their iPads to do distance learning or whatever they call it. And stuff like that. So I guess technology is big because I think they use those during school, and a lot of the lessons is kind of through that, and which is good because that's what kids do now. And they got tablets, phones, all that type of stuff. So it's only fitting that they integrate that into schools to allow them to be able to learn or just relate to it, opposed to a teacher. Like when I was younger, the teachers just up there talking and that was it. Like, how boring is that? You know what I mean? Like, gosh, talking about a kid's attention, and the teachers just up there talking like the whole time and figuring it out. Have you just doing paperwork and stuff, but it wasn't no technology or nothing like that. So I definitely, it is a lot. I guess you can learn at a way faster rate as a kid. But obviously you got to do stuff as a parent too when the kid comes home with the homework and stuff like that. Just take that little time aside or whatever. Because sometimes I just be like, I don't feel like freaking doing it. Like I'm doing something right now. You know what I mean? Like I don't. Like yesterday. You got to help her with some of the homework and the lessons and stuff like that. And it's just like I'm doing something. I don't like, oh, but then you just be like, well, all right, you gotta kind of budget in that time. You know what I mean? But obviously, if you really calculate the time, like I'll grab my phone and then I'll start the stopwatch pretty much like when I'm doing little stuff, and you really it don't take that long, like 30 minutes for the most part. Like kids' attention span as far as the time that they need from you, any given time for that little moment, it's about 30 minutes at the most. A lot of times it's more like 15 minutes, or because they don't understand the concept of time. So 30 minutes is like forever to them. Like that's like 3 hours. You know what I mean? So, but in our head, I guess in some people head too, even as an adult, I guess it's like 3 hours too or whatever. Even though it's not that long when you time it, and you just realize it only take a little, and it goes a long way. And that's what I realized. Obviously being a parent now for 5 years, I guess, you learn a lot. So, and it's like, yeah, man, like time is. it don't take a lot, so I make sure I budget that in, because a lot of times you think like, oh my goodness, I gotta give my kid like all this time, and I want to spend like hours with him, like hour and a half, 2 hours, and if you don't feel like you have at least an hour or more, then you like, I don't have the time, so I'm just not going to spend it to him. But I'm gonna give him like an hour this weekend. But during the week, I don't have time, but I can give him that time in the weekend, because we think, bigger, like hours, and not like minutes for the most part. But with kids, it's just like minutes. So even if you spend like 10, 15 minutes, like if you, like what I learned, what I started doing is like budgeting my day. So I'll take, so the morning time, like 10, 15 minutes, before she go to school. She always, because kids be like, I want to play. Like, you want to play with me, Danny? Like, let's play, let's play, let's play. And you just like, but if you control it as far as that time, because okay, it's gonna be 10 minutes, so you'd be like, okay, give me a minute, whatever. I tell her, but I'm gonna budget in 10 minutes in the morning. You know what I'm saying? Before 10 to 15 minutes before she go to school, and that's like hours to her. And that moment, or the moments that I'm creating, days after days, is so much more meaningful than saying, okay, I'm just gonna give her an hour on the weekend. But if I gave her, say, 15 minutes, for, say, for 4 days, that's an hour, opposed to just giving her one full hour, it's going to be way more impactful on her moving forward, because obviously that's a lot more moments that she now putting into her conscious mind for the most part, because obviously kids is just soaking it up, until they get to about 7 or so, 8 or so, you know what I'm saying? Then they kind of, then they really, they know a lot more, I guess, for the most part. But obviously at this age, at 5, it's like, well, you need to really create a lot of great moments for them. And a lot of times it's bad moments, you know what I'm saying? Because kids see everything. It's crazy, because sometimes she brings stuff up from like a year ago or something, and you'd be like, what? Like, where did it come from? Where did it come from? But yeah, they remember that stuff, whatever, you know what I mean? And I've learned, like, okay, in those moments, don't just brush it off, or just let it go, because it's there, and it's gonna stay there unless you resolve that issue. You know what I mean? So it's better. I just learned it's better to nip it in the bud and talk about it. Just talk about that moment, and just let her know kind of the situation, just like you would talk to an adult or something like that. Sometimes you got to talk to your kids like adults. But what I learned is, make sure you explain what you're saying, because majority of the things they not gonna understand what it is, but you talking and talking and talking and not taking a break, and this just go all the way over their head, So I've learned that always ask. I might say a sentence. Do you know what that means? You know what I'm saying? And majority of the times, no. But as time goes on, then they start understanding it. They understand how you talk, and they understand, you know, just different words and what they mean for the most part. It's almost like you're always being a teacher, with your kid and stuff like that. But yeah, it's kind of crazy, Sometimes you just sit back and think and just be like, oh my goodness, and you just see how much progress and how far they came. Like it's crazy, you know what I'm saying? Just looking at old pictures, and then next thing you know is like she doing the word birds, and she just learning so much, and just like so smart. It's like so crazy, because like I said, I think about me at that age, and I was not nowhere near that. I'm sure a lot of us probably wasn't with technology, like I said, and stuff like that. But man, like it's crazy or whatever, just to see that growth, and her becoming her own, and talk to her about like what happened during school today, and because she was saying earlier today, she was saying so I was like, you got like assigned seats or whatever, and she was like, no, we don't have assigned seats. And I was like, what you mean you don't have assigned seats? Because most kids, she's like, well, some kids got assigned seats, but I don't have an assigned seat, is what she said. And I was like, well, why you don't have a assigned seat and other kids have assigned seats? She was like, well, and she started naming off some kids, and I was like, well, why they got assigned seats? She was like, Well, because they don't listen all the time. She's like, but I'm a good listener, so I guess they reward them. You know what I'm saying? So she can kind of sit wherever she want to because she always gonna pay attention. So that's like a reward. Like if you listen and do because she want to learn. Like that's the crazy thing. Like I guess that's something we kind of instilled in her from the beginning, kind of like learning is a good thing for the most part. But yeah, she loved to freaking learn, so she's like, I listen all the time, and so that's why I get to sit in different spots and I don't have an assigned seat, which is, I think it's real good because obviously she could be a lot more social because she get to sit with different kids, because we try to tell her, because she used to always come home and be like, oh, I got a best friend, and then she'd be like, well, they not my best friend, or they don't want to be my best friend no more, or something like that, because kids, they go through friends like like you go through drawers. You know what I mean? Like underwear, like every day. It's a new. Hopefully, you putting on a new pair every day. But yeah. So we had to. We've been slowly but surely just telling her like, you don't need to have best friends. You need to just have friends, and the more people you meet, the better. Because obviously, you have different experiences, and eventually, you'll find somebody that you like, but always you want to be the leader. Like you don't want to follow them because some earlier, she kind of had some kids and she'd be like, well, they did this and did that, and we like, well, what did you do? You know what I'm saying? And she kind of, you know, if we wouldn't have kind of talked to her and kind of set the stage moving forward, I guess for the most part, she could have became a follower, you know what I mean, and not listening and stuff like that. But now we tell her like, well, you know what to do, and it's not just you could tell them one time, it's repetition, repetition, repetition. You want to keep telling them that, giving yourself the opportunity by the questions that you ask them. You know what I mean? Obviously, kids, you get to control the moments and you get to really control what they get from you, and then what they, I guess, take into the world when they're not with you, I guess, for the most part. But yeah, so she becoming her own and just more like a boss. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't want to listen to people and do what they do. If they don't listen to you and they don't want to do what you want to do, then hey, you got to tell them like, well, fine then. I'll have to find somebody else that's doing the right thing. But not telling her don't listen. Obviously, because it's a big difference. It's a big difference. You know what I'm saying? We don't want her not to listen either, because obviously that's how you grow. That's how you get knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Listening to other people, but don't be following them if they're doing the wrong thing. Now, if people doing good things, then yeah, that's fine. That's what we tell her. Like, yeah, that's fine. But do the right thing. But yeah, like I said, it's just crazy, deep thoughts or whatever. Just, it's just one of those days where I was just like, man, like, it's just reminiscing, kind of getting my hair done, and she was going through her little book and stuff like that or whatever. And it was just like, oh man, like, time is flying. I can't believe she's already 5 and she's gonna be 6 at the end of the month, and it's like, man, memories, moments. You know what I'm saying? What moments do you want? Do you want those nice, happy, precious moments, or do you just want like horrible, horrible moments? You know what I'm saying? It's just crazy, like I said, because they like sponges, man. And if you don't do the right things around them, then they pick up on it. They pick up on it, and I seen it obviously, when I was younger, and nieces, nephew, cousins, and stuff like that. Just seeing, obviously when you have kids at a younger age, obviously you not even really that mature, majority of the people, and not saying that people make mistakes and all that, because it's all learning, you know what I'm saying, but obviously some paths are different, you know what I'm saying, opposed to having a kid when you're like 20, opposed to having a kid when you're like 30s, 40s. It's a big difference, just as far as your mindset and things like that, for the most part. Obviously not everybody, but for the most part. But obviously with me, just understanding that moments created happen by you, for you, whether you want to believe that or not. Obviously you're going to create a positive day or a negative day. Nobody else will. Only you can. You drive your car, like I always say, and you got the keys to it. I mean, you can let other people drive it, or you drive it yourself. It's completely up to you. But everybody can be happy every single day. It's just a matter of understanding you and the moments that you create. And like I said, I mean, if you create those moments for your kids, they're gonna be happy and they're gonna love you. I mean, they're gonna love you regardless, but it's different types of love. Because I'm telling you, I had to work. Like earlier today, my wife pretty much handled everything, and she was the one that she went to for everything. But obviously, I had to shift my thinking and my thought, obviously, from how I was raised to how I want to raise her, and not follow in those same footsteps, because I was going there for some years, and then I had to convert and just change up my style or whatever. Um, Obviously, to not be so much of a dictator, I guess, for the most part. And just be easy for the most part, because obviously I know what I want for myself, and that's how I look at it. Like, okay, well, what if this was me, and you know, what would I do? Sometimes you gotta do that when it comes to your kids for the most part, but yeah. But anyways, like I said, it's just crazy how time just fly, and how moments just get created, and I mean, the greatest thing is it's never too late, to kind of change up, for the most part. Because, like I said, start off on a bad foot initially, just being so disciplined, and you need to listen, and you need to listen. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm grown and you the kid. You know what I'm saying? That type of mentality is like, that only make it harder on you, because it was only making it harder on me. You know what I mean? Especially if they don't listen anyway. I mean, yeah, you can tell them whatever you want, but if they ain't really listening and taking it in, and they saying whatever they want to say under their breath and in their head, that's what matter. You know what I mean? So you can feel like you got that power. You can feel like they doing everything that you want them to do, but as time goes on, you'll realize, like, man, I miss something. When they do get to like the 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, you'll realize if you need to, like, change your ways or not, because it ain't the kid, it's you. Because the kid is a reflection of you. I don't care what you say, a kid is a reflection of you, especially at a younger age. You know what I mean? And yeah, if you got a lot of negativity around them and just not positive, then that's pretty much kind of how they gonna be, you know, because they're a sponge, and you want to make sure that sponge is clean and dry at times. Sometimes it can get a little wet, because obviously you still gotta have a little discipline in there, you know what I'm saying? But you want to make sure you squeezing it out and making sure it's clean, and changing that sponge up every so often, because you don't want to get, bacteria and stuff like that in it, meaning change up sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Like, ain't nothing wrong with changing with the times, because obviously as they get older, it's a different conversation. So, but anyways, yeah, like I said, I was in deep thought, man. I was like, oh, let me just come on and speak the truth. So, but yeah, I'm gonna get off my soapbox, and I'm gonna get back to a little bit of work. And it's getting late, so eventually I'm gonna pack it up and hit the reset button. Boop. Start all over tomorrow. So I'm out.